Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode number 23 of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential, and together we can change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, I have Jamila S. Maxie. Jamila is the founder of Vision 2020 Creative Group, a strategy consulting agency. She is a fellowship and management researcher. She is currently pursuing a Ph.D. in management, organization, behavior, and human resources, a Bachelor of Arts in journalism, which emphasizes in public relations and marketing. In the interview, she will explain how she overcame a speech impediment that has been the driving force of her life. Please help me welcome Jamila S. Maxie. Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
Education for the last 18 years. Seems like a lifetime, but I've been
hired. 18 years.
Yeah, I started when I was 10.
Wow.
And so I've done a variety of things throughout higher education, but the reason why I stay in higher ed is my why, being able to inspire and impact students. That's why I've stayed in higher ed for so long, because yes, you can go and make more money in other industries, but there's a fulfillment that comes to working in higher ed and seeing, that mentors, developing mentor relationships. Right. And one of the things is that I'm a lifelong learner. And so working in education does afford me the opportunity to continue to learn. I learn from my students, I learn from my peers. I learn from different experiences. So I think it's a good fit for me. But outside of that, I do a lot of other things too. So
wow, that's awesome. You said you started at 10. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's really interesting because when I think about my childhood, there are three things that really pop into my mind that help really shape who I am. One of the things is that I didn't realize how much of an overcomer I am, but I was born with a speech impediment. So from early childhood education to 5th grade, I was in speech therapy, and it was horrible. My sister Carla used to be my interpreter because no one could understand what I was saying. They'd be like, I'll say something, I'd be like, blah, blah, blah. And my mom like, what does she want? And Carla was like, she wants some milk. I don't know how she knew what I was talking about. So I had an interpreter for most of my childhood.
Wow, until 5th grade.
Until 5th grade, and that's awesome. When the speech therapist was like, you no longer need to be in speech therapy. You don't have to come back. But that shaped a lot of my personality because it made me shyer in a sense. It made me more introverted because I didn't want to speak, or I used to hate reading out loud. So it caused me to go inward, but it's been a beautiful journey because being inward, like the introversion part of me is just beautiful. I would say that it's not, you hear the word introvert and people like, oh my God, you don't like people. That's not it at all. When you talk about introversion, is how you recharge. So I most people are like, oh, you're not extroverted. No, because at the end of the day, I need to go charge inward. So extroverted people, they recharge by being around people. I recharge by going to look at the wall and being.
And growing and developing, man. So that's definitely awesome. When you were young, overcoming. And I think that's so awesome. I mean, even the experience, to have a speech impediment, growing up, from birth, you have an issue. From birth, people, looking at you. There's something different about you. You don't talk like everybody else. And then, I mean, I remember I was in elementary school myself, and elementary kids, I mean, they're not the nicest kids in the world. I mean, they make fun of what you say, how you said, so, just to be able to overcome that, I really believe that it's better to overcome, in the beginning of your life than, once you get in your 20s and 30s, because there's some people, the 20 and 30 years old and just, experiencing something they have to overcome at that age. And it's hard to deal with it. You have no experience and, but able to deal with it, from a young age. I think that is awesome. So you believe that what's driven you as far as leadership. You're a high learner. You love leadership. You love the leadership development aspect. Do you believe that's where it come from? Let's talk about that.
You know, I really haven't thought about where my love and my passion for leadership comes from, but I can see that, now that you have brought up that point, because one of the things is going through, trials and tribulations, whether
Right.
you're a child or adult, it builds resilience in you.
Yeah.
And I think it allows you to transverse so many different type of experiences. And it gives you that fortitude to keep pressing, even though you might reach an obstacle or you hit an obstacle, whether the obstacle is the perceptions of people, because that's something that I encountered. I think that because I couldn't articulate myself as a child, some of my teachers probably thought that I was probably a little less intelligent, and
Mm.
it wasn't the case at all. It was just I couldn't articulate myself. So it's like you develop this resilience and this I'm gonna press forward. And one of the things that I think a result of that is that I am ultra competitive. I will race you on something that is, and the thing is, most of the time I probably won't even tell you I'm competing with you, but I'm like in my mind, like I'm gonna win. It's like I used to do this crazy thing, like when I used to go out with my friends, and I must tell you, as an introvert, there is a breaking point. So it took me about maybe 4 or 5 months of the pandemic, and now I'm like, I miss people.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But when we used to go out to dinner, I would look at everybody, check, and I'm like, I won. I spent the less amount of money. They were like, I didn't know we were competing. I won.
Wow, wow, wow,
So
wow.
it's amazing now that I'm in this season of my life. I'm in the process of completing my Ph.D. I study organizational behavior, and under that, I specifically look at leadership. So I consider myself a followership scholar, and followership is a little bit different. And I think that's where the experiences from my childhood come in, because
Mm.
we live in such a leader-centric society. So all the spotlight is on the leaders. But when you really look at it, if you look at an organization, most of the employees are followers or
Mm.
follow in some type of way. Unless you're the CEO or you're at the very top, you
Right.
are following in some capacity at some point. So, you know, everything is about leader, 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 which is not bad. But I love the study of followership because it says, hey, followers have influence and can affect the leaders and organizational outcomes. So although it's been around for a while, it's just now gaining traction because, like I said, we do live in such a leader-centric society. But it's not to say leaders are bad. I don't think that at all. I think it's a co-production, and it just brings a different perspective to the leadership conversation, and that's why I really enjoy it, because sometimes we have to shift our perspectives. It's just like in life. One of the most powerful things I learned in my master's program from my major professor was how to reframe things, because I would see something and automatically just take off and go from 0 to 100, but
Right.
she had to reframe things. So I think the same thing applies to followership and leadership.
Wow. Wow. And that's awesome. Most of the Lead to Greatness Nation know, I'm also a pastor, I lead nonprofit organizations, and I'm a Christian. And as a Christian, even in the Bible, one of the things, being a Christ follower, that's one of the big things that Christ talked about, the whole point, that paradigm, and not trying to be, the head chief in charge, but fellowship. I honestly believe fellowship is leadership. The best leaders are the best followers. And I think Christ, the gospels, he definitely exemplified that pretty well.
But when you started talking about that, one of the things is that, and I love the way that he says, the least among you should be the greatest.
Yeah.
But sometimes we switch that up, and we just think, I need to be the one out front. I need to be, I need people to serve me. But like you said, is that leader followership is leadership. It's co-created together. It's socially constructed. So it's like, there you have to be open to influence. So as a leader, that's when I really just like love the influence part of leadership, is that I teach a leadership class. I'm teaching a leadership course this semester. And one of the things is that we started off with the basic definition of leadership. And I think a lot of people may not understand that. I was reading some emotional intelligence literature, and one of the scholars, she said something and it stuck with me. She said, for emotional intelligence to mean anything, it cannot mean everything. And I applied that to leadership, because I think, if I ask you, what is your definition of leadership, and I say, if there's a room of 20 people, I can get 20 different definitions of leadership.
Right.
But when you really look at it, to have a true leadership process, because leadership is a process, it's not a person, it's a process. And so when you look at it as a recipe, the two main ingredients in that recipe are leaders and followers. But so often we only talk about the leaders.
Wow,
but if
that's good.
you don't have followers, can you really say that you're a leader?
Wow, that's good. That's good. Let me ask you this question. Why do you think leadership is important?
Oh, man. That's a loaded question. And as a leadership scholar, I could talk about leadership for like 24 days straight, if you let me. But I think leadership is so important because it is applied to so many different areas of life. And so it can have a great impact, and that's the bright side, but it also can have a detrimental impact. There is a study of the dark triad of leadership, or destructive leadership. So I think it is so important, because I think when you boil it all down, strip everything away that we put on to leadership is about influence, and we're working together to reach this common goal. So we all have goals, and leadership is a process that help us to accomplish those goals. So that's why leadership is important.
Wow, man, that's awesome. So who do you look to for leadership and leadership advice, mentorship? Who do you look to?
It's so important to have a network of people that you can call on. And the biggest difference between Jamila now versus Jamila 20 years ago is the development of my network. And one of the reasons why I've been able to survive and thrive in my PhD program is because I had a already established network. Because there were days that I just wanted to give up and throw in the towel, because this hasn't been an easy journey. But I had a network of people who both could encourage me spiritually, who can encourage me, who've gone through the process, who've already earned their PhD, and can say, okay, this is what I found to be effective to get through this particular stage. People who can just socially be like, hey, let's go get a meal to eat. Let's do some self-care. So it's like on all different fronts that you're covered. One of the things that I would say is that, and I apply this to building a network of mentors and also being a mentor, is that there are 7 types of intimacy, and no one person can meet all 7 types. So it's important to have different people in your life to meet those different types of intimacy. It's the same thing when it comes to mentorship. It's the same thing when it comes to you being a mentor. So you can't be everything to this person. So I can offer you this. And I think that's my approach. So I have a vast array of a network of people, and some great people with great influence, and some people who are spiritual greats too, who can speak into my life on that level, which I think is very important, because that's part of my core identity. One of the things I believe in is allowing relationships to occur organically, not to force it. So when I think about my mentoring relationships, and I've been very fortunate and blessed, at each level of my education, I had a mentor. Wow. And one of the things that does is that I was able to avoid some obstacles, or I had a sounding board to navigate certain experiences, because I had that mentor. I can go and say, hey, I have this XYZ. What's your experience, or what's your insight? I can pull from that wisdom. So, but one of the chief mistakes that people make when it comes to that mentoring relationship is that they tend to be really passive. Well, one of the things is that, if you choose correctly, your mentors are going to be busy. And so one of the things is that you have to respect their time. I respect my mentor's time. So when I call them or text them, they know that it's something for real. I'm not calling for fluff. And so they don't mind giving me that time, because they know that I respect their time. And the other thing is that I'm the initiator most of the time. It's like they're there to serve me. I'm pulling things from them. I need something for them, so I'm pulling on them. So that's the way I govern my mentor relationships. And as a mentee, you know, I think most of the responsibility is in my court.
Mm.
No one teaches you how to be a good mentee. You
Mm.
know, it depends on how you grew up, who taught you how to be a good husband or who taught you how to be a good wife. And
Yeah.
everybody is privy to that information. And I think all of that, if we had to put it in a nice bow and wrap it up, is that you have to be open to their influence. One of the worst things I've
Wow.
seen is for, you know, someone to come and present this opportunity or this situation to them, and they go and it's like they hadn't had it's like the conversation never happened. It's
Right.
like, then why did you waste an hour talking about this if you were not going to be open to what the person was saying? So you have to be open, and it goes back to the leadership process.
Mm.
I think it all goes back to the leadership process, is that you have to be open to influence, because leadership is all about influence. And if you're closed off to that influence, whether you want to give it or receive it,
Yeah.
then nothing's going to occur. It's going to be the same. And we all know what they say, insanity is doing the same thing but expecting different results. So I
Right.
love that, you know, and it's true. People are busy nowadays, and if someone is choosing to invest time in you, like you said, respect that time, but then come with your questions, but then listen. You know, that's
Right.
something that I think is a skill that has to be developed more often, is active listening. Because I can hear you, you
Right.
know, one my friend and I would say, I hear you, you hear me, but are you listening? There's
Yeah.
a difference.
Yes. Yes. And that's, man, that is so true, because a lot of times we're in conversation, but we're not listening. We're just waiting to reply. The next, we're thinking of something, how, the next smart thing we can say to show how good and how great we are as people, instead of listening. And one thing I've learned when I go into the mentor, when I'm being mentored, if I'm talking to them for an hour, I mean, I'm telling you, maybe 10 minutes of that is me talking. And that's the questions that I'm asking. I mean, just I'm asking questions and I'm answering it. I mean, so just make sure, when you have a mentor in your life or a coach in your life, make sure you're allowing them, to say what they need to say. And you just sit back and really take it in and try to learn something, from them. That's good.
That's
That is good.
So I have a question. So, we talked about the mentoring process. The next level, and there's some different schools of thought about this, but it's a sponsor, having a sponsor. So it takes mentor to a whole different level, where mentor may give you information. A sponsor actually puts you in circles that you may not otherwise have access to, or they actually are championing your cause. So
Wow, that's
how many
awesome.
sponsors do you have in your life?
Yeah. I'm really making a note right here, because I mean, I have mentors in my life, but sponsors, I mean, I think and I'm definitely put a note on my action step on, developing and taking my mentorship to the next level. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because now I'm curious. So
Okay.
as a sponsor, so what's the benefits of someone sponsoring versus just you trying to find mentors?
So sponsorship sees not only your potential, they know your commitment, they know your
Hmm.
competency level, and they'll see an opportunity, and either they will introduce you into that opportunity, or they will actually put you forth into that opportunity. So
Wow.
it's almost like uh, writing the check and cashing it, in a sense. And so
Right.
it's not saying I believe in you, but it's actively saying I believe in you, and here's an opportunity that I think matches what you said you're matching. So it's just like, if I'm mentoring you and you tell me that you want to start a podcast, and
Hmm.
then I see that there's this school over here for podcasts, and they're looking for people, and they say we have 5 slots. Hey, Jamila, do you know anybody? Actually, I do. Have you considered Cedric? Let me go talk to him. Here's an opportunity, Cedric. That's sponsorship. So it's
That's
not just saying,
awesome.
oh,
Yeah, that's awesome.
it's the action behind it. It's not just me giving you my wisdom, but it's
Yeah.
saying, hey, I see something in you. Let's develop that. Let me, seek out opportunities to help you develop that. And I think that's
Wow.
important. And it's so it's so rewarding to where when you make the journey through life and
Mhm.
you're able to go from being a mentee to being, then you start to be the mentor, and then it's fulfilling when you become a sponsor and you can sponsor people, you can connect people with opportunities. That's amazing, because when someone sponsors you, it's not that they're getting anything out of it. It's
Right.
because they believe in you. Because that's a very fine line that I would have to say, is that it's not that they're saying, okay, when you get there, you owe me. No,
Mhm.
it's that I believe in you. And to me, it's like a vote of confidence. So it's a beautiful picture of, and I think it's what, when you talk about leadership and that influence, it's using your influence to promote someone and to help them reach their goal. So it can be a beautiful picture when it's done correctly.
Wow, that is awesome, man. I'm telling you. So you have to make sure you have everything in order as well on your end. I mean, you don't want to, just looking for sponsorship, looking for somebody to help you out, but you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So make sure you do what you're supposed to be doing first before you seek out this sponsorship.
I do agree with you, and you hit something that I am really passionate about. One of the things is that a self-awareness and self development.
Mm.
We invest in so many things, but a lot of times we don't invest in ourselves.
Wow.
And that just hits home to me, because part of the course, in the leadership course that I'm teaching this semester, there are self-awareness questionnaires and that students can take to find out more about their leadership style. And as it relates to, leadership, they can say, okay, I know that I have this type of behavior, or I'm more prone to this. But there are so many tools in life. Awareness is such a powerful tool. And so that's something I would highly encourage the Lead to Greatness Nation to really invest in yourself, whether it's taking a course, whether it's doing a class to help you, if you really want to start that business. There are a lot of information out there. There are a lot of courses out there. There are a lot of services out there. Is it investing in it? Because a lot of times people tell you the money part of it. So it brings me to, when you know your mission, that guides you. And it's like the cost doesn't become an obstacle in a sense.
Right.
One of the things that I do, I serve as assistant director for a leadership and mentoring institute, hire mid-level professionals who want to go into senior administration. Is a wonderful, that has been a powerful growth point for me, and part of my development of a broader and stronger network too. But one of the things that we hear a lot is that when it comes to the application piece, people say I can't afford it, but it's almost like you can't afford not to come. If you
Right.
really want, if you're really serious about, moving up or reaching your goals, you're going to have to invest in yourself. It's just like with businesses. I've worked with some people to help start their business. And one of the things I have to tell them up front is that you have to spend money to make money,
Right.
and when you start talking about money, people tend to clam up. It's like,
Right. Right.
it's like, but you do have to invest in yourself. And
Right.
I think that is so important.
Right. And I think that that's really an interesting perspective. How, I mean, we invest in everything else. We invest in automobiles. We invest in Netflix subscriptions. We subscribe to everything. We invest in everything. We won't say anything about it. I mean, Netflix, for you to sit down and binge watch all day. I mean, we don't complain about that, 14.99 for the big package now. I mean, we don't complain about that, but you think about that 14.99, you add that up times 12 months. We don't really think about that when we're spending money on things like that. But it's so strange to me how oftentimes we have big issues when it comes time for investing in ourselves.
One of the things in that, when I'm speaking, whether it's on self-care or anything else, I tend to sneak in a segment about values. You
Mm.
have to know what your core values are. And if your core values, because one of the things is a good litmus test is that if I'm doing something, but I compare it to my values and it doesn't align, there's something wrong.
Mm.
Uh, but we are going away from being a value driven society to
Yes.
or we're allowing others to tell us what our values are instead of having that
Ah,
self awareness to say, these are my core values. Yes, even if I have to stand on an island alone, this is the value that I believe in. And
wow, that is awesome. People are approving you by giving you likes that you don't even like. I
isn't
mean,
that amazing?
it's crazy.
We're seeking validation from, like you said, this faceless, nameless like on a social media platform. But what really happens is that unless we're really intentional, and that's why podcasts like these are so important, because it recenter people back to your why. Because if
Yeah.
not, it will become a community of what. If you ask me what's a good quality for a leader, it's you know your why.
Mm,
But I think that applies to leader and followers. If you know your why, it's a game changer. To me, I can connect with people because I connect with vision. So if you know your why and can articulate it, I can connect with you.
yeah.
But if you're telling me your what, okay, you selling water, okay, well, so does 5 million other companies.
Right, right.
Why you're selling the water and I can connect to that, that's a whole game changer. So, and I'll tell you this, because when you have your why, like you said, it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 likes or 0 likes, your why is not going to change and you're still going to pursue it. And
Right.
you're going to be hard, fast after it because that, but it goes back to your core. It goes back to your self-awareness of, I know what my why is. You know, one of the things that I was doing a guest lecture
Woo.
last year, and I was telling the students that I do have a mission and a vision statement. And I said, if, you know, I was like, I'm not going to take up class time and tell you, but if you ask me after class, I'll tell you. And
Yeah.
so it was a group of students. They were like, hey, did anybody ask you about your mission? I was like, no, I actually keep my mission and my vision in my phone. So at that moment, I pulled it up and I read them my mission and my vision. And one of the students, she sat back and she was like, wow. And I told her, this is my why. This is why
Yeah.
I'm here. This is why I persist on, even on the days to where I want to stay in bed with the covers pulled over my head. My why propels me forward.
Yes, 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 yes.
And I'll tell you this too, your why will have you working harder and it won't seem like hard work at all.
Yeah.
Like when I'm doing things for the Leadership and Mentoring Institute, I can work like hours on end. And I'm like, I feel like I've been working 5 minutes and I look up and it's 5 hours because I've connected to the why of the Institute. And so it's like, and it relates and aligns with my why. So it's a perfect relationship in that sense. It's a perfect fit. And
Wow.
so I'm willing to give my, you know, I tell people it's easy for me to give money, harder for me to give my time because that's something I can't get back of. I can go get some more money. I can't get any more time. So if I'm spending and investing my time in it, you know, it has to be connected to the why. And I think that applies to relationship. That's one of the things I love about studying business and leadership is that so many of the principles apply to real life. You can take those
Everything.
same
Yep.
principles and apply them to real life. So, you know, when you look at your friendships, sometimes you have to step back and say why. And I did that. And not everybody moved forward with me, especially in this current season. Not everybody, you know, who I was friends with previously are currently in my friends list because I don't call everybody my friend. I don't take that lightly. If I call you my friend, we have to connect on some level.
Yeah.
So knowing your why is important in every single area of your life.
Wow. What are some leadership growth tips, tools, advice that you can share with the Lead to Greatness Nation to help us reach our greatest potential?
One of the things that I'd say is really important, and I know I might get some boos, but I think leaders are readers.
Mm.
And that you said something earlier is that there is this information age, and you have to have a information literacy and a digital literacy. And if you're not reading for yourself,
Mm.
then you're susceptible to whatever is someone tells you. But if you're
Yeah.
reading, I mean, that's a form of growth for me. I love to read. And I read a lot of different types books,
Mhm.
but I think it helps me on my leadership journey and just helps me overall. But, you know, one of the things that I said early on, I think I even said it as a teenager, is that number one, I don't have time to make all the mistakes.
Yes, that's
So
true.
I learn from others. And
Yeah.
then I've just always been a natural reader. But when I look to see people who are in power or position, they're usually readers,
Yeah.
and they're reading. So you have to read. Like, one of the best books that I can tell you that really impacted me on a different level was Adam Grant, his book Give and Take, because he says that there are givers, there are takers, and there are matchers. And the most successful people are givers. But, I was like, the Bible said that, but
All right.
but it's true. He puts it in an organizational context, that the person who spends the most time helping others, they're like, oh, he's not going to get any work done, blah, 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 but then comes out to be the top salesperson. It's a principle that works. Reading that is so important. The other thing is that have a variety of lived experiences. And I think that is what really helps a leader, number one, be empathetic and compassionate, and then just can draw from a variety of, when you're able to draw from a variety of responses. We talk about diversity. You have to have a diversity of experiences. I'm one person, but I can have a diversity of experiences. One of the things that I would say that I enjoy the most is volunteering. So that's something that, someone else may have a different type of experience that they really just help center them. But volunteering to me helps center, refocus me, and ground me. But it's an experience that I take into my leadership roles also.
Wow, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Jamila, if someone wanted to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
You can find me on LinkedIn. It's Jamila S. Maxie, and I am open to connect to those who know their why.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Everything's going to be in the show notes. We're going to have a link to her LinkedIn in the show notes. Wow. Wow. Awesome, awesome, awesome podcast. And I'm definitely so excited, and I know the Lead to Greatness audience is also excited again. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us.
Well, it's an honor for me to be on a podcast that I regularly watch. So thank you, Lead to Greatness Nation, for having me. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe notification button. And please leave a big thumbs up. If you're on iTunes, please rate this podcast and leave a review and help get the word out. Again, thank you, Lead to Greatness Nation, for joining us on today. Looking forward to seeing you again on next week. Till then, remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace. We out.